Hello. Thank you for joining us for our 5-minute Bible study today in the book of Colossians. Today we're in chapter 2. I'm going to look at verses 21 and 22. So let's take a quick look at those right now, and we're going to go back to verse 20. 21:22 says this: Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch, which all refer to things destined to perish with use, in accordance with the commandments and teachings of men. So we're in the middle of a sentence, so I want to go back and remind us what we learned yesterday and what's going on here, because this is at the tail end of this. It says, if you've died with Christ to the elementary principles of the world, why, as if you're still living in the world, do you submit yourself to these decrees? And Paul goes on to talk about these decrees. What are these decrees? They are, do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. So those are examples of the things that the false teachers were teaching the Colossians that they had to do if they were indeed to be justified before God, indeed to find the heavenly realm, to be spiritually good. And so as we look at these particular commands, we notice that they do very much sound much like the law of Moses. It says, do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. And we recognize that there are laws in the Torah that tell us things like, don't eat these foods, or don't touch these things, like a dead body, things like that. So we recognize that there certainly could be a hint of Judaism in the false teaching. In other words, it's good that you receive Jesus as your Lord and Savior, but that's not enough. You also have to follow these Jewish laws. So what we're going to see here is that between the Jewish laws and the pagan laws and the things that these false teachers are teaching, it's very syncretistic. In other words, it's menu driven. I'll take a little from menu A, a little from menu B, a little from menu C, and you add it all together and you have your dish. And that's what these particular people are doing. It's similar to a lot of the religion today, even in Christianity, in American Christianity today. You have to be very careful that we're not adding things to the faith that doesn't belong there. That's what Paul's concerned of here. He's saying that they're trying to add into the faith these decrees, such as do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. It's very legalistic. It's about following the law letter by letter. But what we recognize is that Jesus didn't want us to follow the law letter by letter. He wants us to follow the law as in the spirit of the law. That's why in the Sermon on the Mount, we see Jesus saying things like, well, you have been told this, but I tell you this other thing, because Jesus is pointing back to the law of Moses, explaining what the teachers were saying about the law of Moses, and then explaining how he interprets what Moses meant. And so that's what's going on here, is that these people are telling the Christians in Colossae that they need to follow these particular laws. So it continues in verse 22, it says, which refer to all things destined to perish with use, in accordance with the commandments and teachings of men. So it's worldly things, it's earthly things, it's things that are destined to perish with use. As we use them more and more, they start to become less and less useful. They wear out. And we know that that's what happens on this earth, that things wear down and wear out. And so Paul's saying, you're following these man-made laws for these man-made things. And Jesus, Paul actually will say in a little bit, he'll say, set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. He wants us not to look at the things here on this earth. He wants us to be looking forward into eternity, into heaven. Jesus said the same thing. He said to not to place your treasures on earth here, because here moth and rust corrupt, and thieves break in and steal. Instead, we need to put our treasures in heaven, because where our treasure is, that's where our heart is. And so Paul's telling us the same thing. He's saying these false teachers are coming in here and they're teaching you the commandments and teachings of men, the wisdom of man, the things of this world, the things that will die and not last forever. But Paul's saying, no, don't spend your time on earthly things. Spend your time on heavenly things. So we need to do that. The problem with the Pharisees was they take the good law of Moses, but they say, oh, it says rest on the Sabbath. What does rest mean? And they put all these laws and legalism onto that. And Paul's saying, don't follow the ways of man. Follow the ways of God. And so today we need to do the same thing. We need to recognize when we're following the ways of men, maybe it's in your church, maybe it's in your denomination, we're following the ways of man, the ways of the culture. Don't follow the ways of man. Follow the ways of God. Follow the ways of the Bible. And that's Paul's teaching here to the Colossians, but it's his teaching to us as well. So with that, thank you so much for joining with me on this Bible study today in verse 21 and 22. We will continue with the last verse in chapter 2 tomorrow. So come on back and we'll do that. If you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, go ahead and put those in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And with that, thank you very much for joining with us today. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you.